funny how memory works. It's been 15 years since I stood guard at that vehicle control point in Afghanistan. But I can remember every moment after I saw that motorcycle cresting over the curvature of the earth, born out of the horizon's haze, weaving side to side across a road that was as rutted as an old riverbed and covered with IEDs, like everything else in the city of Marja. We were a couple weeks into this massive invasion of this Taliban stronghold city, and we were starting to get a little bit of rhythm to the way things went in combat. I always got the first watch when we stopped for the day. I was one of the platoon machine gunners, and they always used my machine gun to fortify a position. It was me and one other Marine watching this road that day. I remember the road was covered in a layer of this wet moon dust. The stuff was nasty, caked your boots, and made everything else that much harder to carry. The nasally sound of the motorcycle's two-stroke engine ricocheted off the 20-foot tall adobe walls that lined the road and guarded the Afghan-style compounds. As the motorcycle neared us, I stepped out onto the road. I held out my hand and called for them to stop in Pashtun. I realized there were two men, one older and one ancient. The ancient man was wrapped in blankets and hunkered against the driver's back. I walked up to them, and the driver quickly kicked down the kickstand and stood up, revealing a bright red Rorschach soaking the back of his white shalwar kameez. His legs swung over the bike. I put my hand on my pistol. He faced me. I backed up. He spoke frantically and reached under the blankets covering the old man and pulled out a bloody little boy that had been wedged between them. He scooped the kid up into his arms and the boy curled against his chest. I walked toward them. The man spoke in gentle hushed tones to the kid as he picked up his wrist and moved it toward my face, and the horror of his little hand unfurled before me. His hands looked like hamburger meat, and the sun glinted off the metal fragments embedded in them. I could see his shirt sucking into holes in his chest as he inhaled. The dad's quiet pleading was swallowed by the sound of the kid's crackled breath. The dad pressed the kid against my plate carrier, and my arms went up underneath him. I turned with the kid toward my buddy on post. He was already on the radio calling for help. Navy corpsmen, the platoon sergeant, the commander, and the interpreters poured out of the compound. I set the kid down and the corpsmen started triaging him, taking vitals, wrapping wounds, and using forceps to pick shrapnel from what was left of his fingers. The kid never made a sound. Our commander called for a medevac on the radio, and they were asked what happened. The interpreter talked to the Afghan man. The kid was playing in their neighborhood and saw something shiny in the road. He picked it up. It was a blasting cap for an IED. We couldn't get a helicopter for the kid. We couldn't get a helicopter for anyone. Not in Marja, not then. It was the deadliest place in the world. We had to get food and ammo airdropped to us at night, because the Taliban would shoot the choppers down during the day. A helicopter wasn't an option for anyone. I watched the sad smile touch Dad's eyes as the interpreter explained that we couldn't fly him out and that he would have to get to a hospital on his own. The closest hospital was in the city of Lashkar Gah, 30 clicks north, through the most kinetic combat zone on Earth. It might as well have been on the fucking moon. They radioed ahead to the other Marine platoons in the area and told them to let these guys through. We all just quietly watched as the docs gave the two Afghans what medical supplies they could spare. I can still feel the pain in the dad's face as he waved and thanked us. They took off down the road, and everyone trickled back into the compound we were staying in. I stood out in the road with one of the docs and watched the riders head north until they sank over the horizon, and my ear could no longer discern between the bike's motor and the dull roar of distant firefights that permeated Marcia the way traffic noises do